people to the chairs in the picture?
I'm sorry?
Can you get the people to the table?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 8th Annual 2017 USARD Convention. We're going to be starting right away, and the first thing we'd like to do is open the program officially by doing the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. So if you would all please rise and recite along with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic in which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We're going to have the first performance by the New England chapter of the USARD, and that's going to be introduced by Phyllis Gelati. Phyllis, where are you?
And the New England chapter now is going to play. You're going to go upstairs. On bass, we've got Randy Wilcox, Paul Saunders, Gary Gay. On snare, we have Mary Saunders, Joe Gelati, and Gary Gelati. And they're going to be playing a piece which has Stillman's Reel, Constitution Hornpipe, and then the Germ, which is a drum solo written by Joe Germanero way back for the when he was teaching the Germantown Ancients. Frank Germanero was also with the Connecticut Hurricanes. Okay, take it away. Presenting a trio from the Connecticut Rebels, Mary Saunders, Paul Saunders, and Al Merritt, and they're going to be playing a medley 2OH-17. It was written by Al Merritt, who is the drum instructor for the Connecticut Rebels. So whenever you're ready.
part of what we're doing tonight is going to be the tributes. We have 6 people that we're going to make tribute to. The first one is a tribute to, but first of all, before the tributes, I'd like to mention the passing of Anthony J. Tony Gelati at the age of 85, not long ago, from Danbury, Connecticut, just a couple of months ago, as a matter of fact. He was a fifer with the Mad Hatter Senior Combination Drum Corps who passed away on February 9th. So keep him in your thoughts as well when we're doing this, okay? The first tribute, first of 6 tributes, is the one to Al Cisco of the Boston Crusaders, and that is going to be performed by Bill Putnam.
Good evening. As Mr. McGrath mentioned, I am a member of the Crusaders Senior Drum Corps of Boston, and I've been given the honor to play a solo tribute to Al Caliamino, nicknamed Cisco. In brief, Al began his drum corps career at age 11, playing cymbals with St. Catherine's Drum Corps of Somerville, Massachusetts. Played for a short time with St. Mary's Annunciators of Cambridge, and graduated tenor drum with the Cambridge Caballeros. He was nicknamed Cisco by a parish priest and played tenor drum with the Cambridge Caballeros until almost the age of 21. In the mid-60s, Al started a drum line to accompany a girls' color guard from the St. Cosmos and Damien's Catholic Club, eventually adding a horn line, the birth of the Don Juan. Al's prowess in teaching over the years gained him instructor's positions with the Blue Varies, which was a mixture of the Blue Angels and the Connecticut Rebels, Northbridge Valley Airs, North Star, Annunciators again, and the Cambridge Cavaliers. Al marched for a short time with the Princeton Senior Corps of Melrose. And in 1990, Al was asked by an associate to teach the Crusaders Senior Drum Corps. Remained with us for 25 years. He started the Legends. You're going to see some of those later on. The Legends of Drum Corps. Al passed last summer in our mid-season, age 76. Revered by all of us. So revered. Solos in the Boston area, and I'm a Rochester, New York, I would go. Solos were written and performed and named for basically the year that they were performed, the years that they were. This particular solo is the 95 by Al Cisco.
The next one is going to take a little bit of setting up time, but that's okay. And that would be to George Hayek. Let me tell you something about George Hayek while these gentlemen are setting up, okay? And that is basically that Mr. George Hayek was one of the 5 original members of the Hawthorne Caballeros that when the Corps started in 1946. He played snare drum from 1946 to 1971. He played tenor drum from 73 to 74, 72 to 74. And after that, he went in the he performed in the color guard. He performed in the color guard, and then later on, when the alumni corps started, he joined the alumni corps. So if any of you remember seeing the elderly gentleman from the Hawthorne Caballeros, we all know that the Hawthorne Corps was a class act. If you remember, George, he was the kind, quiet gentleman who was always had something nice to say. So I'm going to be joining these gentlemen in this, so I'll have to get my drum as well. The next tribute is to Arthur J. Kerwin of Nashua, New Hampshire, formerly of Dorchester, Massachusetts, passed away on November 17th, 2016. Began drumming with both Precious Blood Crusaders, which later became the Boston Crusaders. Instructor of Lieutenant Norman Prince, Senior Drum Corps of Malden, Massachusetts, and then later the Cardinals of Beverly, Massachusetts, and the tribute performer is Steve Wolpe.
Arthur Kerwin was part of the big three from Massachusetts. It was de Blasio, Jerry Shelmer, and Kerwin. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Jerry Shelmer. Jerry Shelmer was more of the visionary, the writer. Arthur Kerwin was the teacher. He was the guy that actually at one point was teaching the Crusaders and the Cardinals at the exact same time. And the priest from Beverly made him choose between the two corps. That's how fierce the rivals we were back then. The three of them grew up together in the Most Precious Blood Crusaders. They played snare drum together. They were best friends. Then they started teaching different drum corps and competing against each other. And those of you that know from that era, it was kind of gang activity related at times. So they became bitter rivals at that point. So now you got three guys that were best friends, now they're competing with each other all the time. But if you talk to all the people that Arthur taught, you can tell that the effect he had on them personally. So that's the thing about Arthur. Over the years, he was a great teacher and everything. So I'm going to play his 1967-68 solo called Speed Kills. And this was his answer to Jerry Shelmer's famous Left Hand in Me. He said, "Oh, really? You're going to do that? Watch this." This is for you.
The next one, I'm going to have to take a second or two to get my drum, because I'm going to do this tribute to a gentleman by the name of Dick Brown.
We didn't have anyone to do a tribute to Dick Brown, so I chose to do it, and here's why. Dick Brown, and I'm doing this from memory, Dick Brown was a Central States judge. He was an instructor for the Chicago Whalers. He was a playing member of the Skokie Indians Senior Drum Corps, who won the Nationals 3 years in a row. That's the 3 years before Hawthorne won it 8 years in a row. So they were a pretty darn good corps. He was a pretty darn good drummer. And he was a gutsy judge, and I'll tell you why. I'll give you a little story. We're all proud of the corps we came from. And I have just as much a right to be proud of the corps that I came from as that you have the corps that you came from. And we went to Marion, Ohio with a junior corps that wasn't really known out there way too long or too much. And we played a couple of really nice pieces. And this man had the courage to give this corps a 13.7 out of 15 in general effect drums. And one of the other major corps gave them a 4.1. So this man had courage. And that's basically all I'm going to say about that. But I saw Dick Brown play before I knew him in 1956 with Skokie. And I saw some of the drummers that he taught in the Whalers, because I marched next to those guys in the Marine Corps. So here's our tribute of a drum solo that we played that he liked a lot.
Tributes, and the next one is to John Dowling from the Air Force Drum Corps, and John Dowling was one of the instructors of the Air Force. And John Dowling was known for something else too, and I'll let Bob Zerfoss do a little takeoff on that. But I just wanted to start by saying he was an innovator who decided that he wanted to have people develop their left hand strength by taking this hand and turning it over, which we call backsticking. And he introduced that to the Air Force. So I will let Bob Zarfoss do the rest.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real honor to stand here and talk about John Dowling. Billy Mojica, Eric Landis, John Bosworth, who's sitting out in the audience, and I were fortunate enough in the period from 1957 until the early 60s to play in the Air Force Drum Corps with John Dowling as our instructor. John was a wonderful drummer. If I had two wishes tonight, the first would be that you would all see John drum, because he was one of those guys with magical hands. Fastest guy you would ever see, most effortless drummer you would ever want to see, precise, several-time national champion. But as much as you would want to see John and get to see his drumming, I would ask even more, you would have a chance to know John as a person, because he was a gentleman. He was a true gentleman, and I think he affected us not only from the standpoint of our drumming, but from the standpoint of who we are today. So this is for John, a very, very respected friend, passed away this year. And then tragically, last week, John's wife, who was blind, was killed in an automobile accident. So the two of them within the last 6 months. So this is for John, it's for Dolores. We're going to do a very short solo. This is Stars and Stripes. It was part of a drum solo that we played as part of a song. And this is very short, and we'll do this, and then I'll talk to you just a little bit. so the second half of this story is that John is often looked upon as the guy who was the founder of backsticking. John had decided, as Bill alluded to earlier, that doing backsticking would be a good way to loosen your wrists. And so from that effort and from that concept came all the backsticking that you see today. And I like to think that the Air Force guys were the first people to incorporate backsticking on the field. And so we're going to do a little backsticking now. And Eric just said, boy, am I stiff. And you got to understand, when you're our age, you get stiff pretty quick. Thank you. I knew that was coming. So don't get too excited by our play. I'm done.
Gary Rodwell was introduced twice tonight.
I knew that was happening.
The next tribute, the sixth tribute, is going to be done by a gentleman named Jim Hurley. And those of you who saw any DCA contests in the middle 70s through the middle 80s probably recognize this gentleman because he did a lot of judging. And then he disappeared. Jimmy has a brother who most of us have heard of called Marty Hurley. Marty Hurley started out in the Asbury Park Hurricanes in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and then later on moved to be the instructor at head. Before I get to that, he was a snare drummer in the Blessed Sacrament drum line, the very well-known, very famous Blessed Sacrament drum line, along with Jimmy. And then later on moved to be the percussion instructor of the Phantom Regiment. So a well-known judge, a well-known instructor, and a well-known brother. And I'm sure that his brother is very proud to do this. So Jim Hurley, take it away.
Sorry, I'm overdressed. I didn't know. I was with drummers. I went to school at Wilkes many years ago, followed my brother.
You don't learn a thing, right?
Good old Wilkes College before it was university. Played at this place many times, getting through college. Marty was born in 1946 and he passed away in 2011. And most thing I miss about Marty is him saying, "Jimmy, you're full of shit." It's what I want to hear. So, this is a drum, which I won't play on, which is a 71st Regiment Foot Soldiers, Fraziers. And it's a beautiful drum that Marty got given by Premier. It's lovely looking, sounds terrible, so I won't drum on it. Talking about instructors who had big ones, Eric Landis, who I taught with many years ago, Eric Landis called the shots as they were. We came in, our Blessed Sacrament, big top drum line from winning, I don't know, some major contest, and we were terrible. Eric took us to near zero that day. The kids wanted to jump him, and it was just like, no, we're that bad. Eric was one of those judges too. Proud of that.
You want to remember that, Eric?
No.
How do you feel now, Eric?
So, I didn't know what to present, and I didn't know how many minutes there was, so I'll make this very brief. Marty was a fabulous drummer. When he got the Blessed Sacrament in '65, the first year I was there, he had learned all the snare parts out at Wilkes College. And I sent him to him. We worked and practiced back and forth, sending out our little tapes and stuff. He was that good, he made the snare line. And then Mr. Thompson said to him, Marty, I have 3 snares. I just lost a tenor drummer. Could you play tenor for me this year? Marty just learned parts in the week, was on the field playing tenor. That's the kind of guy he was. He's always been that way. So I want to play something that I think represents Marty. And there's a book that I produced. All proceeds going to Brother Martin High School, where he taught in New Orleans for 39 years. When the hurricane came in, Katrina, Marty was a runner and as a DCI instructor with Phantom all those years. He ran in every city that there's ever been out there. Marty ran 15 miles a day. So he's seen the entire East, West, every place there was to be. Even running in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Yeah, I know. Good court. But it's very, very interesting. So here comes Katrina, and Marty calls me. I said, Marty, getting out of the city? He says, no, I'm going to run into that damn hurricane. And when it pushes me back, I'll the fastest I'll ever run. And that's what he did. And he stayed. He was a year and a half later, they opened up his high school, Brother Martin. He cleaned every day. So he was that type of guy, very devoted. This is something that I wanted to in tribute to Marty. And I thought I'd do it on this, is that too loud?
No.
I thought I'd just do it on this very hard pad. When we learned to drum as children, I wanted to play violin. Marty wanted to play drums. My father taught us, and it wasn't the Hurricanes. We started in the O'Brien Major Post, which was the Shoreliners, which my father was the drum instructor. My father, we were a very poor family, and my father was a crossing guardsman on the railroad tracks going down into Belmar, which got wiped out by Sandy, that hurricane. So we would drum on a cold stove, and that's how we learned to drum. I didn't want to drum. I just did it because my big brother was doing it. I used to run the numbers going down a track for my father for horse racing. This is something that Marty really loved, okay? And it's the Thompson Solo that we played in '67 in Blessed Sacrament with our 5 snares and our 5 tenors. I'll play it 3 or 4 different ways. It's a tribute to Mr. Thompson, but it was Marty's favorite because it was so beautiful, and maybe not the way I play it now, but the lilt of it is beautiful. I'll play this. Oh, and the Syracuse Brigadiers also played this that year. Here's the solo. We called it the Army 2468. We didn't know. We had no clue what this solo was. It was number 3 in our repertoire of things. But it went back from 2/4 to 6/8, and it was so ancient. But we, of course, I'll play it slow so you can hear what we played on the field, and I'll play it a little faster. This is the Army 2468. Now, we thought that was cool, going from 6/8 to the duples and 2/4. So I wrote this for Marty in this book, because that's how my nose got crooked, because we argued, as being the younger brother, I always lost the fights. And that's why I wrote this in his honor. It's called a prelude, so that you can get your sticking right, and you can move from 2/4 to 6/8. So it sounds like this. Cut it a little bit short. Here's the way we played it on the field. At 132, Mr. Landis can tell you, with 5 snares, 5 tenors, and 2 swinging rudimental basses, I used to always go after him. You saw Eric Landis close to your drum line, you sent the rudimental basses after him, and he just looked at them and stopped, and he can tell you that, and they never touched him. But here it is. This is the Army 2468. We competed against the Cavaliers and the Kilties and all these fabulous drum lines. We just didn't think it was as hard playing all the... We thought this was very, very hard. We thought nothing stank. No one could play that on the field. And then 5 years before Marty died, he calls me, he says, Jimmy, I heard there's something out there called the Doozy 6/8. And I said, I don't think I've ever heard of that before. He says, it's the solo that we like, but Mr. Thompson wrote it many, many years ago, and it's truly in 6/8. And I just kind of waylaid, and, you know, and he passed away, and I was looking through my notes one day, and here I had the original Mr. Thompson gave me. And I felt so, so sad. So in Marty's honor, I wanted to play this. This is Mr. Thompson's rendition, and we knew that he had to be drinking. He had to be drinking. Everything is wrong about it. Everything is turned around. The accents are totally... I'll play it slow in 6/8, and then I'll ask somebody to come up and use the metronome. This is what it sounds like in 6/8. Oh, sorry. So much cooler. Can I ask you, are you Mr. Shannon? Yeah. You're a fabulous drummer. I've been following you. Could you play this for me? Would you press this button?
No glasses?
It's just a button. It's art. Just put it on. If you would kind of move over here, and I play this at 106. Can you imagine this being played by ancient drummers with a thick Rudimental bass drums like I just heard? It is just light years away from stuff we thought was so good. Just hold it up. Marty and Mr. T. Thank you very much.
Excellent, excellent. We not only got a tribute to Marty, but we got a little bit of a clinic too. That's kind of cool.